How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Virtual History 360. I'm Mr. Wade, and thank you for joining me tonight as we review Manifest Destiny. It is 7:30 on the nose. What do you say? How are you guys doing? You having a good night? Whew, I tell you, I'm tired. I just got home maybe 20 minutes ago. It's been a long day. Let me just see this. Ooh. All right, so we are studying Manifest Destiny, right? All right, Clark, the King of Montana. Nice. Welcome. All right, so, sorry I had to take care of that. I appreciate it. All right, appreciate you guys waiting patiently. Welcome, Clark. Glad to see you are not late tonight. I appreciate you being here. Let's see, we got a couple people on. It's a little after 7:30. I'll give you guys, I don't know, a minute or so, and then we will get started. So I will start by saying, how are you guys doing tonight? Hopefully you're having a good evening. Hopefully you are ready to study for Manifest Destiny. Hopefully, maybe. We'll see. All right. So, as we're giving everyone a few minutes, I'm getting notifications here. As we give people a few minutes to get in, reminder that the goal of tonight is to review our unit on Manifest Destiny. Does this cover everything in Manifest Destiny? No, only what we focused on, okay? Hopefully I hit on the big topics, right? That's kind of the goal. But remember, if you have questions, ask them. Put them in the chat. Keep our chat civil. Have a good conversation. If you are here to learn, I'm here to help you. If you are here to cause trouble and just kind of troll, get out of here. There's no point in you being here. But if you are here to learn, I'm here to help you. So if you have questions, put them in the chat. Okay? And I'll give you guys, I don't know, it's what, 7:32? You know, there's a 40-second or 35-second delay between when I ask a question and you hear it, and then you have to type a response. So I know I'll wait for the delay as always. But I'll give, I don't know, another 2.5 minutes, because I know people take time getting in there. It takes time to get the notification. You might be running a little late. So around 7:34, 7:35, we'll get started. So I'll tell you, I just got home, I don't know, 7:10, something like that. We had track practice after school, and then by the time all the kids got picked up, and then I had to go do my workout, and then, yeah, I made it home at 7:10. Whew, it's a long day. But I'm here for you guys. All right? I'm hoping you are going to take away from this information, or at least help with the information to help you become more successful. That's why I offer this for you guys. I want you guys to be successful. I want you to do well. So if you're watching this on replay, I know you can't ask me any questions, but hopefully the content gets you through it, okay? Hopefully the other students that are on this live stream ask questions that are going to help you as well, okay? Because we're all in this together, right? So, I'm assuming everyone can hear me, right? And we'll get started in about a minute. It is 7:33. We got our first question there from Clark. Was the Monroe Doctrine very effective, or was it just ignored by European powers or nations? It was effective as a symbol. Was it effective in practice? Not really. We kind of told Europe to stay out, and we said, hey, if you mess, we're going to, get with you or get involved, but really, we didn't do much. We didn't really have the means to do much. Remember we talked about England actually helped us enforce the Monroe Doctrine more than anyone else because England needed to sell their goods. So they wanted Europe out because then there'd be a new market. So, yeah, it was effective as a symbol, but in practice, for the 19th century, for the era that we're learning about, it didn't really do much. Now, it does come in practice, and multiple presidents have brought it up all the way up until, present day, really. The European powers shouldn't mess with the Western Hemisphere. So, in that sense, I would argue it's been effective. Okay? Good question, though. Good question. All right, so where are we? It is almost 7:35. And I think that very first question, is a great starting off point, because remember, level 1, or the first level after vocabulary, what did that deal with? It dealt with Monroe Doctrine and our diplomatic assertiveness. But there were some other parts that we need to talk about as well. We were wheeling and dealing, if you will. We made a couple different treaties. You had the Convention of 1818. We need to talk about that. That was our deal with Britain, where the border with Canada got pretty much established at the 49th parallel, except for Oregon. I'll get to that in a second. But that 49th parallel. So we gave up, yes, as time goes. Yes, as we became a more powerful nation, it became more effective, right? What was I saying? The Convention of 1818, we gave up a little bit above, North Montana, I said in class, right? But we also got Minnesota, or most of Minnesota. So, we balanced with England. That was a fair trade, we figured. Oregon, at the time, was split. And it went higher, went north, farther north. And remember the vocabulary term, joint occupation. Okay? So joint occupation. England, or Great Britain, and the United States agreed to share Oregon. Now that didn't last forever. It lasted about 26, 28 years, give or take. And that's when President Polk came in with his campaign slogan, 54, 40, or fight. 54, 40, or fight. Because he said, as a presidential candidate, that he wanted all of Oregon. All of Oregon, he said. 5440, that's the 54th line of latitude at the top there, at the very top of Oregon. He said, I want it all, and we're willing to go to war with England to get it. Now, in the end, did they go to war over Oregon? No, they agreed to split. And the 49th parallel that they established in the Convention of 1818 carried all the way through. Okay? Let's see, what was the main goal of people going to the West? Everyone had individual reasons. So what I'm going to say is a kind of a blanket statement. It kind of depends on where they were going, okay? And that kind of narrows it down. But basically, we can sum it up with new opportunities, okay? If you were not well-to-do, but you had a decent life and you had money saved, you were going for a new opportunity to get more. If you had nothing, this was a fresh start. You were going for a new opportunity. Does that make sense? Where you went depended. If you were trying to seek your fortune in gold, you went to California, right? Gold and making money that way, it was a real big motivator. If you were going to Oregon, the Homestead Act was passed and people were getting land for free. The government was giving out plots of land, 160 acres for a single person, 320 acres for a married couple, as long as they agreed to farm it, clear land and farm it. Who can say no to free land, right? I mean, if they offered it today, I'd sign up. Just saying. What do you guys think? Or ask your parents, hey, if you were offered 160 acres or 320 acres for free, would you take it? They'd probably say yes. Ask them, see what they say. Okay? So why did people go west? Money, opportunity, land, okay? Stuff that they didn't have back east. Now, why did they sell Oregon? We talked about, they sold it as, the perfect weather, perfect soil, it cured your sicknesses because it was fresh, clean air. That's why they tried to sell it, but really, if you could boil it down to opportunity, whether it be wealth, like gold, or farming to make your money that way, make a new life, so new opportunity. Do I think the U.S. was justified in going to war with Mexico? I'm not going to give you my opinion. It's not my job. You guys did that yourself. I appreciate you guys doing the work to debate whether we had a justification. That would be, the United States being attacked by Mexico. 16 American soldiers were killed on American soil. Okay? Then you have the Mexican side where they said, we view the Nueces River as the border, not the Rio Grande, and that was our territory. So we're defending our territory. So, my opinion doesn't matter. You guys have an opinion, and that's what matters. Okay? Now, as far as Texas, had this happened further north, say up in San Antonio, like remember we learned about the Alamo, when Texas was declaring its independence from Mexico. Had the Thornton affair happened further north, then wholeheartedly I would say, the U.S. was justified. But because it happened so far south, down near what is present-day Brownsville, across from Matamoros, where the land was disputed, you can make an argument either way. Depends on which side you ask, right? Now, if one side is right, then obviously you're going to say one side was more justified than the other, right? Okay. Good questions, guys. Keep them coming. I like these. All right? Yeah. I'll give you my opinion on some things. You've been on my live streams before. I'll happily answer them. But if it's a question that I've asked you in class, I don't want to steer you. This was a question I asked you if they were justified or not. I want you to come up with the answer. Okay? Ooh, Juan, that's a great question. What year did the California Gold Rush become most popular, or was it the most popular? I believe it was 1852. That's not terribly important for the test, so don't stress out over it. I believe 1852 was the biggest year. It got its start in 49, that's why they're called the 49ers, right? Remember Sutter's Mill? They discovered gold in 1848, and by the time the secret got out, people started rushing, right? And that was in 1849, but more and more people came, and it continued, for a decade or so. But the most popular, I believe, the biggest year for gold was 1852. Okay, great questions, guys. Let's see, what motivated people to move west the most? Really, it's the chance for a new opportunity. You could argue money, right? Everyone's chasing that dollar. We'll learn more about capitalism, and economic systems next unit, but you could argue people are looking for money, which comes from new opportunity, which could come from farming and selling timber, logging their land, come from striking it rich by finding gold. Numerous ways to do it, but it all comes from the same, root cause. Okay? So I would say that's what the motivation was. Why didn't Florida, part of Mexico, wasn't the USA about Florida after Mexico gained independence? No, actually, remember the Adams-Onis Treaty. Adams-Onis Treaty, the same year Mexico declared independence from Spain, 1821. We signed the Adams-Onis Treaty, or Adams-Onis Treaty. I say Onis, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. The Adams-Onis Treaty is what gave Florida to the United States. Remember, you have to go back a little bit, back to Andrew Jackson. Remember, he was told to stop Seminole raids back in 1818 in Georgia, but do not invade Florida. And of course, he invades Florida, but he doesn't get in trouble for it because we're like, hey, governor, get out, Spain. Well, Spain got out. And that led to the Adams-Onis Treaty, which ceded, remember that vocabulary word, C-E-D-E, ceded Florida to the United States. So, wasn't the United States bought Florida after Mexico? No, it was right around the same time, really. So it kind of all coincides with each other. James Monroe, not John Monroe. James Monroe was president at the time of the Adams-Onis Treaty, but he wasn't president forever. He was only president until the election of 1824. That's when John Quincy Adams, remember the corrupt bargain we learned about. I know this year's kind of out of order because we're trying to do it thematically. Okay, but yes, it was James Monroe during the Adams-Onis Treaty where Spain established its border before it lost Mexico and gave Florida to us. Like I said, happened right around the same time, effectively the same time, same year. Right? Good questions, though. Keep them coming. This is awesome, guys. Let's see. All right, that was a very close one. I wonder if USA tried to buy Florida many days after Florida gained after Mexico. No, it was before. It was before Mexico. But like I said, they're right. The theme, for the whole year thematically, it was effectively the same time. But Florida came to the United States first. That way, don't get too stressed out about that, though. Okay. Alright, and if you hadn't noticed, I do have slow mode on for the chat, so you can't, spam comments. You have to wait a minute, so that's okay. It's funny, I can see my screen has the delay, so I can see me like being whoo like that, and then I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here, but I see out of the corner of my eye. Oh my goodness, you guys are doing good. I'll be honest with you, if you're watching this on replay, you pretty much covered just about everything. There's a few more topics that I want to touch on that are in my notes right here, but you guys are asking good questions. You are like right on topic here, okay? Well, what's the most important thing? Everything that I'm covering. If I'm covering it, that means it's important, okay? California Gold Rush and Oregon Trail, the most important, you need to know all three levels. The first level after vocabulary, the second level after vocabulary, the third level after vocabulary. Diplomatic assertiveness. We covered the Monroe Doctrine, the Adams-Onis Treaty, the Convention of 1818. We covered the Mexican War. What started the Mexican War? Remember the Thornton Affair, the dispute over the territory between the Nueces and the Rio Grande to the south. We talked about why Mexico still claimed Texas, even though they declared their own independence. Mexico still claimed Texas as part of their own. But we talked about how Texas tried to join the Union, but some Northerners didn't like it because Texas was a slave state, or would have been it was eventually admitted as a slave state. So Northern free states didn't want a large slave state added to the Union. Okay? So that's why the area was disputed. Right? Remember, that's why, Texas had to fight Mexico, because Texas wasn't following Mexican law. When Mexico declared their independence in 1821, they outlawed slavery. They abolished slavery. But they did want to populate the area, so they welcomed in American farmers, and these American farmers brought slaves with them against Mexican law. They didn't learn Spanish. They didn't convert to Catholicism. They were breaking all these Mexican laws, and that's why there was that big battle, and we all know about what happened at the Alamo. Remember the Alamo, right? And then, of course, Santa Anna loses, and Texas gets their independence, but they're not very successful, so they asked the United States to join the United States. Mexico doesn't want Texas to join the United States, because they still claim it as theirs, right? Oh, there's a bunch of questions just flew in. Let's see. How many wars were Clark, and we'll need you to clarify that. Do you mean battles? I'm not terribly worried about the number of battles. Eventually, the United States Army makes it all the way to Mexico City. There were a handful of battles, and a lot of people made their names, but the people that we're going to talk about were the names, like big names of the Civil War, got their experience in the Mexican War. Is Tess going to talk about the Monroe Doctrine? Yes. Yes, Juan. That's level 1, the Monroe Doctrine. The test is going to talk about the Monroe Doctrine, yes. Did you know the USA would still defeat the Confederacy states came back today? If the Confederacy came back today, the Union Army would win? I would believe so, yes. Sure. Okay. Let's see. What else do we need to talk about? You're talking about what's most important. That's level 1. Level 2, the Mexican War. We talked about Mexico declaring independence, abolishing slavery, Texas not listening, so they have to fight at the Alamo. But then over the disputed territory between the Nueces and the Rio Grande, that's the Thornton affair, right? And then the war. We're not to worry about the number of battles. I think that's what Clark was asking. I'm not worried about the number of battles in the Mexican War. Just know that Mexico lost, and the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo is signed. And that's where Mexico gave up basically half of their land. Mexico was huge, and they gave up half their land to the United States, and that's what gave the United States present-day Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Nevada. That all came out of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. All right, so that's a big deal. All right, so Mexico gives up half its land. That was on the scale, wasn't it? Okay. What else do I got in here? We talked about Polk's campaign slogan 5440, or fight, because Oregon was... Oh, I shook the camera. I'm sorry. I better not lean on the table here. Oregon was under joint occupation after the Hartford Convention, right? Well, Polk, being a firm believer in manifest destiny, argued that, hey, we want the whole thing, so we're willing to go to war. Of course, they compromised and didn't go to war, but think about it, we now split. That's how Oregon, the lower half, became ours. Okay? Why did people go to Oregon? We talked about it. For fresh start. Fresh start's the big one. Farmland in Oregon. Oregon was known as the land of milk and honey, right? So why did we want Oregon? Because it was like that. And why did people want to move out there? For that fresh start and for farming. Oregon was about the farming, okay? But the Oregon Trail that they went out there, yeah, it was dangerous. Did many people die on the Oregon Trail? Yes. Do I have a number? No. I know, like 500,000 people made the trip, so yes, a lot of people died. There's rudimentary graveyards. If you ever played the game, you died of dysentery because how dangerous it was, drowning in rivers, attacked by animals, starving, dying of disease. Yes, people died on the Oregon Trail. A number? I don't know. What's the question level 4 is asking, because it's confusing. Level 4 is, if I remember, I don't have my scale in front of me, so we might have to refresh me here, but it's talking about manifest destiny in more recent times. Okay, the idea of the United States gaining territory. We talked about, or it's listed like Guam, and kind of the Philippines, if you want to tie that together for Clark there. The relationships that we have there when those come out, Puerto Rico, gaining commonwealths that came out of more recent times. Not what we cover, manifest destiny, California, Oregon, but more recent. Spanish American War, 1898, but still more recent than this. That's what level 4 is about. What 2 rivers were the disputed borderland? The northern river was the Nueces. The southern river was the Rio Grande. Okay? Goodness gracious. All right, and we talked about California. We talked about Oregon a lot. The farmland was, great, land of milk and honey, right? People went there for a fresh start for farming. But Why did they go to California? For gold. And what nickname were they given? It was a vocab term we've talked about a bunch. 49ers. Okay? They went to California for gold. But who really made the money? I'm actually going to ask this question because I've been talking a lot, so I want to pause for a second. Who really made a lot of money? Who made their fortune during the gold rush? Someone put it in the chat. I know there's a delay, but put it in the chat for me. Who made their fortune off the gold rush? Why hasn't Puerto Rico become a state yet? Isn't it a U.S. territory? It's a U.S. Commonwealth, actually. They're citizens. But it's a much deeper political conversation. Some people want it, some people don't. That's a conversation for not this Manifest Destiny chat, but it's a good question. And I'm still waiting. I want to see someone in the chat tell me who made their fortune off of the gold rush. Let's see if someone can help me out with that one. Yeah, it's been about 30 seconds. There we go. Well, 49ers, who were the 49ers? There's a handful of you in here. Someone help me out. Again, I know there's a slow mode, so if you've tried to answer, it's another 60 seconds until you can answer again, but take a drink of water while I wait for that. Quite loud. No one really. Inflation is bad. Well, yes, inflation is bad at the spot moment, but some people made money off of this. Who did we talk about? We spent time in class on this. The people came out searching for gold, and they found it, but what did they have to do with it? I would like to think someone in this group can help me out with that. Sorry if I keep shaking the camera, so I lean on the table here. The shops that came with the people. Good job, one. That's it. Yeah. Remember we talked about inflation, the charging more, for our pickaxe, and again, using round numbers. If it was $1 back east and they charged $15 in California, they made good money. A plate of eggs, 10 cents, now charging $2. Oh yeah, they made good money. So yeah, the merchants made money. The gold, the 49ers, people, the speculators coming out looking for just the gold in the ground, they made their gold, but they had to spend it just as fast. Yeah, the merchants though. Okay, the shops like jewelry. Yeah, the people that will melt down the gold, they made a killing. They took their cut. They made a lot of money. That's why the cities were able to survive in California. That's why we have large cities like San Francisco today, because they had enough people. Because we talked about boom towns and bust towns, and ghost towns, right? These towns that would spring up, but when the gold ran out, they were abandoned. But then you had cities like Denver or Reno or San Francisco, where they were able to sustain and still stick around. You can go visit today. Make sense? All right, so if you got questions, keep them coming. But I'll be honest with you, I hit all the bullet points on my notes right here. We talked about the Monroe Doctrine, diplomatic assertiveness. Europe, get out. We are not going to mess with your affairs. If you have a colony, we're not going to mess with it. But no new colonies, right? Why would they melt the gold? Well, if you think about it, you get a rock or you get a bunch of little flakes of it. You don't want to lose it, right? Oh, where did I put that? Did my cat knock it down maybe? Oh, I had a little thing of gold. I don't see it. I wonder if my cat played it because it rattles. I think my cat might have been playing with it. My little thing of gold. If you get little flecks of gold, you don't want a million little flecks, so you melt them into one little ingot or one little bar. Okay? Was Oregon and California unclaimed area before people started going? Well, what's your definition of unclaimed? Oregon was claimed by the British and the United States. Remember the the Convention of 1818, right? California, owned by Mexico. New Spain claimed it. There's missions that date back almost as old as Florida out there. Okay? So no, was it unclaimed? No. No, there was people out there. Was it big? Was it filled with people? No, it was mostly empty. That's why they were trying to drive up the population and get more people to go out there. Right? But No. Can you explain level 2? Level 2 was the Mexican War. Remember we talked about, again, watch this on replay, but Texas broke all the Mexican laws because Mexico earned its independence in 1821, or declared its independence in 1821, abolished slavery. But with Texas being sparsely populated, welcomed in Americans. Those Americans broke those laws, so Mexico fought back. Like, they got into a fight. That's the Alamo. Then they defeat Santa Anna. They declare their independence, but they don't do very well, so they ask the United States to be annexed. Mexico doesn't want the United States to annex. Northerners don't want Texas to be annexed, but we annex them anyway. Northerners, remember, don't want a large slave state to join. Okay? Juan Brooklyn asked that question earlier in the stream. I'm not going to answer because it was a question I asked in class. You don't need my opinion on something that I asked you in class. I want you guys to have an opinion. So then the United States claimed the Rio Grande as the border. Mexico claimed the Nueces. There's that disputed area in between. The Thornton Affair is when 16 American soldiers were killed north of the Rio Grande. Used as an excuse to go to war. We go to war. We win the war. We go all the way to Mexico City. We defeat Mexico. And the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo gives half of the land to the United States. I hope that was level 2 in a nutshell. Okay? Oregon was a deal with Great Britain. California was part of Mexico, part of Guadalupe Hidalgo. Oregon was joint occupation with Great Britain. Okay? There's two separate things. Cool? Alright, so it's 7:56, 7:57, it just clicked. So I'm going to say 3 more minutes, and then we're going to wrap this up. 3 more minutes, and then we're going to wrap this up. Okay? That's interesting. Because, yeah, we pretty much say everything. If you're still a little confused, ask some questions. I'll go over it again, just like I did level 2. I said it a few times, but you asked it, so I clarified it. Okay? Otherwise, watch the replay, I guess. But if you have questions, put them in the chat. But yeah, I'm going to say at 8 o'clock, I'm shutting this down. I need to go get my dinner. I'm hungry. It's late. So this is your last call for questions. If you have anything you want to ask, this is your chance. Otherwise, you guys stuck it out. You guys did good. There's a handful of you still in here. So, you'll be ready. The test is tomorrow. It's 15 questions. You guys know the material. Levels 1, 2, and 3. That's what the test is on. Review your notes. Review everything. What was the deal with Britain? The one that we're focusing on is the Convention of 1818, where Great Britain and the United States agreed to joint occupation of the territory. There were plenty of American heroes that came out of it. Robert E. Lee got his name from there. Ulysses S. Grant got his name from there. Yeah, there's a bunch. Zachary Taylor got his big name from there. You know, ran for president based on that, right? All right. All right, you got 60 seconds, and then we're going to shut this down. But yeah, you guys are going to be ready. Trust that you know. You'll be awesome, okay? Just go over level 1, level 2, level 3. That's how we do every test. It's based on the levels of the scale. That's why we set the scale, so you have all the information you need. Everything's given to you on day 1. Okay? Remember, James Polk was, a proponent of manifest destiny. Okay? Remember, he wanted all of Oregon. He was willing to go to war for it, 54-40 or fight. But they compromised, got half of it, right? Yeah, California was for gold, Oregon was for farming and a fresh start. Yeah, Texas allowed slavery, so Northerners didn't like it. I think that covers it. Monroe Doctrine, diplomatic assertiveness. Yeah. So yeah, if you're still confused, I'm going to end it here, but, feel free to watch it. Is the test great? Yes, Juan. Don't worry about the grade. Worry about learning. Please, focus on learning. Okay? So, it is 8 o'clock. Please have a good rest of your evening. Get your rest. Eat a good breakfast tomorrow. Come ready to do awesome on tomorrow's test. All right. Please have a good night, everyone. Goodbye. For Virtual History 360, I'm Mr. Wade. I'll see you next time.